TC on the beat.
What's up, NMKBH Nation? We back. This is a little new thing that we're excited to get going. You know, we had the podcast going, but the podcast tells stories about people coming to Christ, what it was like, the things they had to battle to get their personal relationship with Christ, things like that. Well, this new thing that we're doing is more of a teaching type of thing. You know, once you understand who Jesus is, and once you want to start seeking Him, you have to grow in it. So this new thing that we're doing is more of teaching, just based off some of our daily readings. I'll still have guests on the show. Like today, I got my man Tyus with me, and sometimes it'll be just me. Sometimes it'll be me, and it could be up to like 8 to 10 people talking all at once. It can be someone else doing it on their own, you know. I'm open to letting this go how God wants it to go. This is just more of a teaching aspect of things, whereas the other podcast is more of just stories in the beginning of the journey, you know. So today, what I want to start off with is something I've been reading in Numbers. It really starts in Numbers 22 all the way through 24. But I'm going to start off by reading one verse in Numbers 24 that just really hit my heart. It's Numbers 24, verses 12 through 13. And it says, Balaam told Balak, "Don't you remember what I told your messengers? I said, even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord. I told you that I can say only what the Lord says." And that was just so, that hit my heart so hard, because it's just like, we could overcome so many temptations in our life. You know, when your flesh is battling spirit, when you have people that are in your life trying to peer pressure you and push you into doing negative things. If your belief in God's word is strong and you believe His will be done, then it makes it so much easier to not fall for them temptations. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. It's really hard because I really wish we wasn't as stubborn as we are, because we know, like, whether we want to believe it or not, we know what's right and wrong. We know what we're not supposed to do. We know what God says is not part of His will, but we still consciously choose to just throw that out the window and just do whatever we want to. But if we had the mindset of, what's his name, Balaam, we had a mindset of him, and it would just be a lot easier.
Yeah. Hey, can you, so what I just read, my version was the New Living Translation. Tyus has the Message version. He's going to read verses 12 and 13 for you here real quick. Starting
at verse 12. Balaam said to Balak, "Didn't I tell you up front when you sent your emissaries, even as Balak gave me his palace stuffed with silver and gold, I couldn't do anything on my own, whether good or bad, that went against God's command."
See, the key that I love in that Message version is that good or bad. You know, Tyus put a quote on his Snapchat story the other day. What was that quote you put?
My biggest fear isn't that I'll fail, but that I'll succeed in something that doesn't matter.
And it's like, man, like, that's so hard, because like, just because you're doing good things, if you're not in tune with God and it's not what God is telling you to do, it doesn't matter. So that's when it comes into that quote that you're talking about. And the fear isn't failure. The fear is being successful in something God is not calling me to do. I want to be at God's feet so I can know what He's telling me to do, so that I can get what He wants me to do done.
That's big time, because just said in the message, man, I'm powerless if I'm going against God's will. That means whatever I do, no matter how hard you work at it, no matter how much time you put in it, how much you want it, it does not matter if it's not a part of God's will. And that's just something that we have to understand.
All right, so now that you got the key point, I want to go back a little bit and tell you how they got to this point. So the Israelites, in Numbers, this is after the Israelites got freed from Egypt. You know, Pharaoh and Moses parted the Red Sea with God's help, of course. Mm-hmm. And this is after all that. They've been in the wilderness. The Israelites have turned on God multiple times, mad at Him. Mm-hmm. It's like as soon as God does one thing, a couple days go by and they forget and they back to cursing God. So they moving around the wilderness right now, and they're fighting different I guess tribes is what you call them. I don't know. Tribes is what you call them. And they're coming up to this dude named Balak's tribe. And he calls on Balaam because Balaam is known to the people that he blesses stay blessed, and the people that he curses stays cursed. So he immediately called him up. He's like, yo, I need you to curse these people. So Balaam's like, I bet I'm going to talk to God and see what God wants me to do. So then Balak sent his people over there, and Balaam then talked to God, and God was like, don't curse those people, they blessed. So he told the messengers, I'm not going nowhere. You can go on back. I'm not blessing them. I'm not cursing them because God said they blessed. So they go back telling Balak isn't going for it, so he sends more messengers, and then he gets back to him. He tells him the same thing. He's like, God said bless him. So they're blessed, and I can't curse them. I can't do nothing about it. So then he asked God, should I go with him? God was like, yes, we can go. Y'all can go with him. So he goes with him, goes back up there, and then Balak shows him all these wonders. He shows him his palace. He shows him silver, gold, tells him he'll pay him whatever just to curse these people. And there's a whole lot of more stuff that goes on. But then at that point, I just said, when he goes up there, shows him the gold, silver, and the palace and all that, that's whenever he says, do you not remember what I told your messengers? I'm just going to read it one more time because it's that powerful. Don't you remember what I told your messengers? I said, even if Balak were to give me his palace filled with silver and gold, I would be powerless to do anything against the will of the Lord. So I just really want to just hone in on how important it is that no matter what the world is offering you, what God is telling you to do is the most important thing and the thing that we gotta strive for. We cannot be easily convinced. Things of the world, our own personal desires, all of that has to take a back seat to what God is telling us to do and what our calling in Him is.
Man, and I really want people to just understand that He gave away a palace full of silver and gold for Him not to go against God's will. And sometimes that we can't even put our own self-interest, just different things of the world that we want, our own satisfaction, just to put that in a back seat for what God has planned for us. And it's really crazy. And He put away silver and gold, a palace full of it.
Do you know how big a palace is? A palace ain't no small house that's just sitting over there on the side of the road. A palace is huge. Royalty people live there. And He turned that away. And I can just catch myself, I'm not going to read that extra chapter of the Bible today because I want to watch this last episode of the TV show I've been watching. You know what I'm saying? And it's just all those small sacrifices that I could be making, putting my flesh away to feed my spirit that I just won't make because I let my flesh win. And that comes into, I need to look at God bigger. God is bigger than what I can understand. And the moment you really start to understand that God is bigger than what you think, it makes it so much easier to start being let me get in the book and let me understand His word more. You know what I'm saying?
Man, that's deep because we really don't take God as seriously as they did back then because He really knew that I'm powerless without going against if I'm going against His word. And I think we get caught up so much in our own life that we feel like that it's not that serious. And if I just go with this one girl or if I just have this one drink, it'll be okay. But it's really we don't take it as serious as we need to.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm so happy that God finally opened my eyes because someone had tried to read numbers with me it's been about a year since someone tried to read numbers with me. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't get through it. I've constantly, my mentor knows I tried to get through reading the Bible for the first time about this time last year. And he asked me how I was going. I was like, oh yeah, I've put that down. I've stopped trying. And now God has really opened my heart. And now I'm actually starting to read the first 5 books of the Bible. And it's just there's so much in there that it's not the New Testament though. So I don't be wanting to read it. And a bunch of people don't want to read things that aren't the New Testament because the New Testament's great. You can read the New Testament. And I love Paul. I love the Gospels when just hearing about Jesus walking, all that different stuff. But that doesn't take away how good the Old Testament really is. And God just opening my eyes to that and actually being able to enjoy this is something I'm just super thankful for, man. You got any last words you want to say?
No, I think we covered it all. Just appreciate you for having me. Anytime.
All right, NMKBH Nation. This is I'm not sure exactly what day this is going to launch. I haven't picked the day of the week that it's going to consistently launch on. But once this whole, I'm working through some things to where I can get guests in over FaceTime and Skype and things like that to get my other podcast back going the right way. And then after that, we,
You're fine. I want to urge everybody watching this right now to get on board with everything this man has going on right now. This includes watching the podcast, getting in with the gear. So you know what I got on right now, the little gear. He got a little sweatshirt on. We're going to have new stuff coming out soon, so just stay tuned.